Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Saturday night in Azeroth, and we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the state of World of Warcraft and discussing the overall state of the game and whether or not it's in a healthy place. This is actually going to be a new segment that we're introducing into the show, but this particular segment is one that I want to address right now, and I want to kind of handle it as the main topic of the week this week, but there will be some new segments coming in the next couple of weeks. We've got forum posts today, a couple of other things that we've been working on behind the scenes, but just know that the structure of the show might be changing a little bit. Some of the order of things might be moving around. Some of the segments might be being added in. We might be reducing segments down, different things like that. So breaking things up. So just be prepared for that. But we do have a lot of topic or a lot of content that we want to cover with today's topic. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. We are moving all of the Patreon and whatnot to the end of the show, so you don't need to sit and listen through that if you've already heard it a million times. What I want to start off with, though, this week is we're going to talk about last week in WoW, and this isn't just what I got up to last week in WoW, but this is how WoW, or what was newsworthy in game last week. Of course, the big news for last week was the Race to World First, concluding Sunday morning Eastern Time at 12:21 a.m. We had Liquid as the first, Echo as the second. We now have Method as the third place, and Hot Pot Hero from the Chinese realm, Scarlet Crusader, in fourth place. These guilds have all completed the Cutting Edge achievement and killed Mythic Chrome King Gallywix. There are a handful of guilds that are gnawing at that a little bit. So as of the last time I checked, we have Synergy, which is an EU guild. We have Fat Shark, yes, which is an EU guild. We have Instant Dollars, which is a US guild. Ji Tianhong, which is a Chinese guild. Mate, which is Korean. And Banhammer, which is EU. So these guilds are all, actually the last two, Mate and Banhammer, are at Mugsy at sub 1%. They're just having a hard time with that Hardened Rage. The rest of the guilds are all working on Gallywix. So we should have a number of guilds that have completed it. Maybe even by the time you listen to it, a number of these guilds will have killed Gallywix because... So here's the thing. When Liquid did it, they were in the 650s. Echo, I think, was in the high 640s. Method in the 650s. And Hot Pot Heroes was in the 650s. These guilds that are now going through it, the kind of B tier for the Race to World First guilds, they're all in the 660s. I don't expect to have any more 100 pull Gallywix, 100 attempts on Gallywix. I think they're all going to be sub 100. We'll see how it goes, but I definitely think we're going to flesh out the top 10, and then we'll have an idea of what things are going to look like for the final Race to World First. At least I'm hoping that's the final Race to World First for the War Within, coming up in season 3. So yeah, this is, like I said, the Race to World First is technically over, but I still like to kind of know who the top 10 is going to be. That helps identify what guilds are going to be progressing going forward. And it also helps with these guilds for recruitment. If they're trying to add members, they're trying to bring people in, maybe these people aren't good enough for Liquid or Echo, but maybe you are good enough for Synergy or Instant Dollars. So it's just a matter of getting these guilds into a good place. And so I like to kind of keep an eye on that and pay attention, because to me, it's important that the Race to World First is a big deal, because it is the premier content in WoW, or I'm sorry, the premier esports content in WoW. It's not something sponsored by Blizzard. I do think that Blizzard could sponsor it. I think it would be really tough. I don't think the guilds themselves want to be sponsored by Blizzard for the Race to World First. I think they'd rather do it on their own, because then they can control a lot more about it. If Blizzard did it themselves, they'd have to create a tournament realm like they do for the MDI or the Arena World Championships. And then you would basically create characters on the tournament realm, progress the boss, kill the boss, and then log on to your normal characters and have to kill the boss again on the maybe reduced difficulty Mythic or something. I don't know. It would be a little weird. So I have advocated for tournament realms in the past. I think logistically it's not a great idea. I don't know. We'll see. I still think it would be cool to see tournament realms, but maybe that's not the best. Maybe that's not the best thing to have. So, for myself personally, in WoW last week, my guilds, we killed Styx Bunk Junker and Sprocket Monger Lockenstock. The one-armed bandit, we got to 24%. We were struggling a little bit on DPS. We still have people in the 630s and low 640s. So we'll get there. We don't have any hard requirements on, at least not yet, on what people are doing as far as gear. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we are working our way through it. I am confident that we will kill the one-armed bandit next week. Muggsy looks like a tough fight. So who knows how that's going to go? I don't know. I don't know where that's going to take us. It would be nice if we could have a really consistent and solid 20-player group go in, but that doesn't always happen. People have to leave for different reasons. People are late. They can't show up. It's not a serious guild. This is a casual guild. We are a casual, heroic guild that does some mythic bosses. So I guess we'll see how that goes. For me, also in Mythic Plus, I only did one keystone last week. I've been trying to get into keystones, but I'll tell you, applying for a keystone, nobody wants to take you unless you are 2,000 rating for a 3. It's rough. It's rough out there, folks. I know people say do your own keys, but yeah, you'll sit in queue by yourself for 20 minutes if you put your own key out there as a DPS. So I did a Dark Flame Cleft, which was great. We 2-starred it. That was fun. But yeah, that's it. I might, it's Saturday, so I don't know. I might do a couple more keys this week and try and get 4 or 2 slots in the vault, so do 4 keys total. I don't know. We'll see. Yes, Mythic Plus is easier this season, and we'll talk about Mythic Plus a little bit more when we talk about the state of the game. But I don't have the confidence in myself, I guess, is really what it really boils down to. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. We do have a lot of news and some things that we're going to go over. So we're just going to jump right into the news.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the news for the week. We're going to talk about the things that are newsworthy from the game, things that are happening, things that have just happened, whatever, recently. So Blizzard has announced that the well, actually, we'll go back to that. Let's start with the 20th anniversary. So the 20th anniversary phase 3 is now live. So your Blackwing Lair raid is now available. Your level 50 class quests, your reputation rewards, Argent Dawn, Timbermaw Hold, Thorian Brotherhood, Silverwing Sentinels, and the Warsong Outriders. Those are all available, as well as the Dark Moon Fair. You know how much I love the Dark Moon Fair. So these are the new changes that are coming in for phase 3. Starting on April 3rd, which is going to be in a week and a half, we're going to get a Wrathy Basin. So that's going to be 3 p.m. on April 3rd. So you can jump right into that. The rank 11 cap will be removed. So if you really want to rank on the 20th anniversary realms, this is your opportunity. Get in there and do that. We're also going to get Battleground holidays. So you'll be able to get increased honor and rewards for doing that. It's just going to be whoever your, it'll cycle through every week. So Anniversary Realms are chugging right along. I tried to play Anniversary again last week, and I failed because it's not fun. Because first of all, there's bots everywhere. And second of all, everything is crazy expensive. I'm so tired of the gold buying. Look, if you're listening to this and you're a gold buyer, I don't dislike you. I dislike the behavior of gold buying. I think it's shameful behavior because it really ruins the intent of World of Warcraft as a game, a massively multiplayer online game. You're buying gold means you're paying real money for somebody else to go and farm the gold for you. I don't like that. I don't even buy WoW tokens in retail where it's technically legal. I don't even buy WoW tokens, generally speaking. That's one of the reasons why I didn't buy the Brutosaur back in Battle for Azeroth, because I was like, well, I don't have 5 million gold. So I could have put the money into it and said, told my wife, hey, honey, We're not eating dinner this week because I'm buying a Brutosaur. I could have done that, but I didn't. So still married. So there you go. It's an anniversary. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about anniversary because one, I expect that Zolgrub will get announced here the next week or two. And then two, I'm really curious to see what the anniversary is doing in terms of getting to the Burning Crusade, because that is the goal here. And will we go from Burning Crusade into Wrath of the Lich King? And is that going to be the new normal? Is that we just every 5 years have a new progression all the way through? I don't know. I'm curious to see how this goes. So, all right. Season of Discovery Phase 8 will go live on April 8th. This is, of course, going to contain the new outdoor content. There's going to be new recipes. There's the Scarlet Enclave quests, the new Avalon Zone, all of this stuff that you're going to be able to do. So if you don't know where this is and you're kind of confused as the whole thing. So if you go to the Eastern Plaguelands, there's in the southeast corner, there's Tyr's Hand. Tyr's Hand is an area full of elite Scarlet Crusade NPCs. In Wrath of the Lich King, they added in an area to the east of that called New Avalon, where it's a little town and some farms and things like that. That's where the Death Knight starting area is. So the Scourge attacks, the Death Knights are leading the attack. There's the whole quest line there. That's where that all takes place, and that's where the new raid is going to be. So I'm not sure of the exact location of the entrance to the raid. We will find out on April 8th, but it's nice to know that Blizzard has these assets available and they are utilizing them. So the new zone, New Avalon, go behind enemy lines in disguise as you infiltrate the town of New Avalon within the Scarlet Enclave. Gain the trust of the citizens and tradesmen, learn new recipes, earn new rewards, and more. The new legendary weapon quest line. Warriors, hunters, and paladins can undertake an epic quest to restore a fallen weapon to its former glory. Will you succeed, or will this storied weapon remain shrouded in darkness? The future is uncertain. And the new raid, Scarlet Enclave, a splinter faction of the Scarlet Crusade, needs your aid in fighting an insidious evil at Tyr's Hand. They need your assistance in retaking the Scarlet Enclave for good, glory, and new rewards. Players can engage with 8 new bosses as they make their way through this new raid dungeon and collect 8 new armor pieces for their class, or a new 8 armor piece set for their class. So there you go. Season of Discovery. And this has been confirmed by Blizzard as the conclusion of Season of Discovery. It says the journey through Season of Discovery culminates with Phase 8 beginning on April 8th. Experience blah, 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 blah. So that's that's the end of the Season of Discovery. We don't know when it's actually going to end, when Blizzard's going to say, okay, we're closing the doors on this. I would suspect something like 6 to 9 months after this raid is released, which would put us sometime in the beginning of next year. I could see that. And then we can start ramping up the Classic Plus talk. I've had a couple of people talk to me about Classic Plus and say, hey, can we talk about Classic Plus? I'm going to do a Classic Plus show here soon. I've listened to enough Countdown to Classic and the people on there arguing with each other about what should and should not be in Classic Plus. I need to have my own opinion on that because they are all crazy on that show. So, except for Josh. Josh seems like a great guy, but the Arcos and all those other guys, they're all insane. So, all right. No offense, if you happen to hear this. Okay. The Trial of Style is here, and it is going to go through March 27th. So, there's a new transmog that you can get from the Trial of Style. And in addition to any old transmog that you don't already have, fierce fashionistas and dashing defenders of the Horde and Alliance, synchronize your wardrobes and prepare for a fashion battle. The Trial of Style has arrived, and it's time to put your transmogrification skills to the test. Looking for new themes, decorations, and winning displays as the Trial of Style runway extends into Khazal Gar. Ooh. Start your fashion journey by picking up the Fashion Week quest from Perfecto, chilling across from the Holiday Enthusiast, using Trading Post in Dornogal. I have not done this yet. It is available currently. You can get in there with a group wherever you can zone in with like a raid. I think you can do it in a raid and just have everybody vote for everyone else. But yeah, it's fine. The Trial of Style is in So we talked about this last week or a couple of weeks ago. I think it was last week. There is some insidious, ethereal nonsense going on at the Trial of Style. So I'm suspecting that we will learn more about that. Maybe this time, maybe next time. Probably next time we get the Trial of Style, we'll see if that goes anywhere. But so yeah, there you go. The World of Warcraft Student Art Contest for 2024. The winners have been announced. I know this isn't something for everyone, but the art that these kids did is amazing. It's really good. It was broken up into 4 categories: animation, character art, environment art, and FX. So it's just so that 2 of them are videos and 2 of them are just art pieces. But the art is really good. The 3D rendering that they're doing on the effects. I mean, everybody did a great job. The winners and the runner-ups are out there. It just looks great. And I'm glad that Blizzard is doing this. This is something to me that Blizzard encouraging people to do this sort of thing. I know people have a hard time with internships and say, hey, well, you shouldn't work for free. I get it. I do. But the world in which we live, sometimes you have to have some sort of an apprenticeship in order to gain the skills to do what you need to do. And this is a really good opportunity for these students to do that while they're still students. So I wouldn't recommend doing a long-term internship, especially after you're no longer a student. But in this particular case, I think it's great. The winners will receive several prizes, including a Wacom Pro tablet for drawing, a 1-hour virtual mentorship session with a senior Blizzard artist, which I guess just means like a meet and greet Zoom call, a Blizzard sketchbook, a 1-year subscription to World of Warcraft, and a Blizzard Entertainment t-shirt. So congratulations to the winners there. And the runner-ups, at least you got your name out there, even if you didn't actually win anything. So cool, good stuff. The Heavenly Regalia pack is now available on the store. You know how I feel about store transmog. If you like it, great, go get it. If you don't like it, whatever, move on. Check it out. It's 2 different sets that you can get. They're pretty cool. I'm probably not going to buy it, but it's cool looking sets. Check that out. I'll put the link to it in the show notes, but honestly, it's just go to the store and check it out. You'll see it in game. You can check out the store. With the conclusion of the Race to World First, Blizzard have released a series of hotfixes, class-based tuning and everybody knew this was coming in, and this is going to be the case. You've got to go through and you've got to buff classes that needed a little bit of help, and you've got to nerf classes that were doing too well, but you can't do that during the race, because it causes so many problems if you are nerfing and buffing classes in the middle of the Race to World First. They have these guilds have characters that they have been building up through splits and trying to get as quickly as possible. So if you've suddenly nerfed protection warriors, then it causes a whole bunch of problems for these guilds. So let's talk about so these changes are coming in on the 25th of March. So that's going to be this Tuesday with the reset. The biggest winners are going to be Augmentation Evokers, Marksman Hunters, Holy Paladins, and Holy Priests. They're getting pretty big buffs. In some cases, complete reworks, but overall, they're getting some pretty good chunks of buffs. Balanced Druids, Guardian Druids, Survival Hunters, Arcane Mages, Assassination Rogues, and Elemental Shaman are all getting decent-sized buffs too, medium-sized buffs. And then rounding out Frost DKs, Beast Mastery Hunters, Frost Mages, Brewmaster Monks, Retribution Paladins, Restoration Shamans, and Demonology Warlocks are all getting it's small little buffs. 3% damage increase here and there. But overall, those are all the classes that are getting some sort of an increase. Now, Mistweaver Monks are getting a damage nerf, but a healing buff. So they're reducing the amount of damage that they do, but they're increasing the amount of healing that their Ancient Teachings does based on their damage. So Blizzard is just trying to make sure that they're not overpowered as far as doing damage as in Raid, Mythic Plus, whatever. It makes them too good. And I agree. I think that if you have a damage-based healing class, they should not do too well. Evokers, Preservation, and Devastation are both having their narrow bar tier sets nerfed because players didn't want to upgrade to the new tier sets because the old ones were too good. So those both got nerfed, and they are getting some buffs. to offset that. So I think overall this is kind of a wash because the new tier sets are kind of lame. But we'll see. We'll have to see how well these classes are doing going forward. Right now, Devastation Evoker is tearing it up, so this will be interesting. But yeah, they're going to get a higher damage burst from this. So we'll see. The unfortunate classes that are getting nerfed, you've got Protection Warriors are getting a pretty substantial nerf in terms of their damage and some of their defensive capabilities. Vengeance Demon Hunters, Fire Mages, Discipline Priest, Shadow Priests, and Windwalker Monks are all getting small nerfs. So nothing too out of control in terms of the overall nerfing here. I'd say that for the most part, Blizzard is trying to bring classes up to the level of other classes rather than tearing everyone down, which I think is good. But some classes, you just have to nerf them because Blizzard doesn't like the way that they're behaving or the way that they're changing. If I didn't mention any of the classes' names, they're not on the list, so you're not getting a nerf or buff. You just stay the same. Like a Havoc Demon Hunter is just nothing. I'll put the link to the hotfixes, the hotfix that's coming in on March 25th in the show notes, so you can check that out. But know that this is coming, and if you play any of the classes that are getting a buff, congratulations. Holy Paladins, man, they've needed a buff so badly. Augmentation Evokers, like Blizzard nerfed all of their buffing abilities, so they have to increase their damage. So their damage is going up. They're still not going to be as useful in Mythic Plus, but they're at least going to be not non-functional, which is what they are now, because their damage is low and then their buffs aren't very good. So anyway, that's what's coming on for the hotfixes for this week. And finally, for the news, Blizzard has released the World of Warcraft Tavern music soundtrack. People have been doing this for a while. Content creators have been taking the music from in-game, putting it to different visuals and putting it up on YouTube, which is fine. But this is from Blizzard directly. So they've included taverns from all over Azeroth, Brill, Crossroads, Booty Bay, Menethil Harbor, Dalaran, Thunder Bluff, Darnassus, Kultira, Zandalar, the Dragon Isles, Khazalgar. It covers a very large range of taverns and music styles. So it's actually really cool. So check it out on YouTube. I'll put the link to this one in the show notes. I love to have this music on when I'm if I'm doing some research for the show or when I'm working. Something like this is great to just have going on in the background. I like the lo-fi study music. That's really cool too. But it just warms my heart because this music is stuff that I am so familiar with and so used to. Just listening to it makes me happy. It makes me think about leveling up a new character, and it makes me yearn for those days where I was like, ooh, I want to level up a new alt, and I already have too many alts, but you get the idea. It's a really nice thing to have, and it's I don't know. I just think it's enjoyable. So definitely check that out if that's something you're interested in. All right, let's talk about what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. This is the War Within Season 2, Week 4. We have the +4 affixes Devour. Players are periodically affected with a heal absorb while in combat. So this is you either need to heal through the absorb or dispel. So if you are a dispelling class, definitely want to have your dispel available to you this week coming up. Paladin, Shaman, Priest, Druid, whatever. If you've got a dispel, use it. Mage, Death Knight can use Anti-Magic Shell. Yeah, this one's not too bad as long as your group as long as it's built right, because some classes really can't do anything with it. Demon Hunter, sorry, I can't do anything. Rogue, I don't know if Hunter, I guess Hunter could turtle it, but anyway, you get the idea. You know how to use Devour. That's what we're getting. The +7 affix is Fortified. You know it. You love it. You love to see it. Fortified, 20% more health, 20% more damage for all non-boss enemies. The trash is just going to be harder. That's what it boils down to. So enjoy. All right. The weekly events this week is the War Within Dungeon event. So you're going to get the Sign of the Warrior buff. The final boss of each War Within Dungeon will drop an extra item. So this is for normal, heroic, and mythic, not for keystones. The way it's worded, it's really important to pay attention that the boss will drop the item. Nobody drops anything in Mythic Plus. The only loot you get is from the chest. So that's not coming from the boss. So just remember that. You're not going to get extra Mythic Plus items, unfortunately. But you will be able to get the quest Emissary of War from Archivist for Thrun and Dornagal to complete 4 dungeons on Mythic or Heroic difficulty, which Heroic, that's great. That'll take you 30 minutes, 45 minutes to do 4 of those. And you'll be rewarded with a piece of heroic raid gear or hero track raid gear. So yeah, that's a really good one, especially if you're trying to gear up still. I have plenty of champion gear that I could replace, so I will be doing that next week. The PvP brawl for the week is Classic Ashran. Yeah, I hate Classic Ashran. I'm sorry. If you love it, that's great. I'm happy for you. I do not love it. So yeah, but if you do decide to do it, you can, when you zone in, you'll get the quest Something Different to complete a PvP brawl or to win a PvP brawl, and you'll be rewarded with Conquest, Honor, and Marks of Honor. And then the only other event, like I mentioned previously, is the Trial of Style that goes till March 27th. And yeah, that's it. It's a kind of a quiet little stretch here until we get into Noble Garden in a couple weeks. So, all right, that's going to wrap up the news. Let's move on to the main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So this is a topic that has come up from time to time in different capacities. And instead of taking a more philosophical approach to what's the current state of World of Warcraft, I wanted to look at this from a numerical standpoint. I'm talking about data. Data is one of those things that it's really easy to get a lot of data that you don't understand and that is hard to interpret in a meaningful way. And people can interpret data in different ways. You get 2 people with the same set of data and they have different agendas. They're going to interpret that same exact data in different ways. So I'm taking this data from a few different sources and it is going to be my interpretation of that. It's really hard to say, well, this is cold hard data. You can't argue with that because you can make it mean whatever you want. So this is just, I'm going to present the data. We're going to draw some conclusions, but ultimately this is, it just is my opinion on the state of World of Warcraft. And like I said earlier, this is something that I want to start doing every couple of weeks, where I want to go over these numbers from various sources and kind of get a feel for what is the game like. Is the game healthy? Is the game happy? Because there are some things that we can look at and we can draw based on this data, and it can give us something to maybe look to that we can improve, or maybe personally that we can do a better job with. So let's just get into it. And there's going to be a lot of numbers in here. So if you're not interested in numbers, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible, because I know that reading a bunch of numbers on a podcast isn't necessarily what everyone wants to hear, but I do want to get through this because I feel like it's important to understand what, we'll just go through it. So, all right, let's start with, okay. Here's the thing. Raider.io has been scraping the Blizzard API for Keystone completions, and they compile all of that data and they have it. And they even put out nice little charts that you can look at, but they don't really give you a full picture of what the game is. So, and I'll give you an example. If you look at all the Keystones and you say, which is the most popular Keystone out there? So if you look at total number of Keystones run in the War Within, Season 2 so far, your number 1 is going to be Priory of the Sacred Flame. And when I captured this data yesterday, it was at 603,000. So 603,000 completed Priory of the Sacred Flame runs. The lowest is going to be the Motherlode or Dark Flame Cleft at 533,000 each. It's about. The reason this is important is because the highest percentage of completion in time. So if you say, here's all the completed dungeons, and here's the percentage of those that were completed on time, the highest percentage is Dark Flame Cleft. And I'll tell you, it's the easiest one. For what I've done so far, it is the easiest one, but it's not the most popular. People don't like it. People were burnt by the candle mechanic, by the darkness. And this, to me, that's what I want to glean from this, is not, hey, here's the numbers and this one's the most popular. Priory of the Sacred Flame is not the most popular. It's people know it and they're like, oh, that one was fun. I liked that one. Yeah, it's fun if you do it on normal or heroic on the first week of the War Within. It's not fun now. So if you move up and you say, all right, let's look at the 2 to 3 range of keystones. So this is keystones. There's no affix. There's no death penalty. There is only your timer and your mob counter. Okay. The most popular and the highest completion percentage are all the rookery. Now, to me, this says people who are just starting out in keystones, 2 and 3, maybe they're just dipping their toe in. The rookery is a dungeon that everybody knows from season 1 because everyone had to do it during the level up process. We all did the rookery. You cannot get away from that. You have to do it in order to complete the campaign. I guess technically you could level up through Urbing or something, but if you want to actually do the storyline, you have to do the rookery. So everyone knows it. It's more common. For whatever reason, that's the most popular key that people have done, and that it's the best timing percentage. So 129,000 completed and 87.9% completed in time, which is astonishing. If you move up keystones 4 to 6, we're back to Priory of the Sacred Flame at 162,000 and Dark Flame Cleft at 92% completed. So people have kind of learned here, like, oh, Dark Flame Cleft is the best one, but we like Priory of the Sacred Flame. That's the most popular one, the one that people enjoyed the most when they were leveling up. Same thing, Keystone 7 to 9, Priory of the Sacred Flame, 203,000, and Dark Flame Cleft, 83% completed. Now, this is where it gets interesting. When we go to Keystones 10 and 11, right? So this is, you've got two, you're both fortified and tyrannical, plus your Xalatath affix, all in play. Your highest completed number is Cinderbrew Meadery. Your highest percentage of completion is Dark Flame Cleft at 76%. So 117,000 Cinderbrew Meadery, 76% Dark Flame Cleft completed successfully. Priory of the Sacred Flame, it's one of the lowest ones completed at that point because people have realized this one's actually hard. It was fun on normal. It was fun on heroic. It sucks above that. And when you get to 12 and above, now we're talking a small percentage of players that are completing these keys. As of yesterday, this was 87,000 total keys completed, 12 and above. 87,000 total. The highest one was the Rookery, and the highest percentage of completion was Dark Flame Cleft. The lowest number of runs of any dungeon from 12 and above, Priory of the Sacred Flame. So you see where I'm getting at here. I know that, like I said, this is a lot of numbers. I get it. But the idea of players in their brains going, hey, this is the one I like. And as you get higher, it gets harder. And you go, wow, this one's actually the worst one possible. 7,819 out of 87,000 total. It is the absolute lowest dungeon count. If you're curious about the total number of keys run on those levels, like I said, as of yesterday, there was 4,487,000 keys run, and 78% of those were completed on time. That's actually pretty good. A lot of people have been trying to compare this to season 1. You can't compare it. This is a direct comparison doesn't work because 3 weeks into season 1, players were still riding high off of a brand new expansion. And while yes, Mythic Plus was frustrating for people, they were still doing it in higher numbers because there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of drive. A lot of people were subbed in season 1 that are no longer subbed because they were like, okay, screw it. I'm not keeping my sub anymore because this isn't fun. So you can't do a comparison between season 1 and season 2. You can't actually compare seasons to each other because it's just, what is the difference in timing between running keys in February, March versus running keys in August, September. It's different. It's just different. So all you can do is look at the system itself and kind of gauge that the health based on how well it's doing, how well players are participating in the system. And these numbers tell us that players are pretty evenly completing dungeons. If you look at all key levels from 2 to 17, everybody is within a 500,000 to 600,000 range for completed keystones. The highest being Priory of the Sacred Flame is 603,000. The lowest being Dark Flame Cleft and the Motherlode with 533,000. So if you are looking at the numbers from Keystones levels 2 and 3, we have 895,000 completed total. Keystones 4 to 6, 1,174,000. Keystones 7 to 9, 1,474,000. Keystones 10 to 11, 869,000. And Keystones 12 and up, 87,000. So where are the bulk of the players? Yeah, it's in that little middle range, the 2 to 11, that's where everybody's playing. 12 and up, it's minuscule. It's minuscule, the number of players that are doing 12 and above. And yeah, that number is going to grow up, but so is the Keystones 2 to 11 numbers. So if Blizzard is really focusing on these 12 and above Keystones, I'll tell you right now, it's a small percentage of players, very small percentage. I didn't calculate percentage, but just looking at these numbers, maybe not even 5%. Not even 5% of total keys completed is, well, I'll tell you, it is 2%. 2%. It's actually 1.9%. 2% of players, or 2% of keystones completed have been done in the level 12 and above range. I don't, why are we focusing on this? It's the same reason why Blizzard focuses on Mythic Raid for such a small percentage of players. This is prestige content. And that's what it is. It makes them look cool. It makes the game look cool. So I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. It just is. If we're not grouping the keystones up and we just want to look at the percentages, the highest percentages, where are players running? The highest number of keystones run by far are 2, 6, 7, and 10. Those are all over 600,000 total run. The lowest in the 10 to 11 range, or in the 2 to 11 range, 11 at 156,000. 3 and 4 are both, and 5 honestly are all low, and 9 is low. 8 is at 482,000. It's decent, but the idea is players are going to target their breakpoints. They go, well, I'm going to do a 2 because it's the entry. I'm going to do a 6 because that's where I can get my gilded crests. Or no, I'm sorry. 6 is where you get hero gear dropping at the end of the dungeon. 7 is where you get your gilded crests. 10 is where you get your portals. So players are going to target these things. Those have the most runs across the board. 2, 6, 7, and 10. It makes sense why players are doing this. So is the game, does that mean that the game is good? Are these breakpoints good for the game? I don't know. If you're trying to run 3s, there's not that many 3s being run, comparatively speaking. Your best bet is to go from 2 to 6 because that's where you're going to get the higher number of keys run. So you're going to start at 2 and you go, okay, I kind of learned the mechanics, and then you have to jump to a 6 because there's just not as many runs for the 3, 4, 5 range. It's just how it is. 3, 4, 5 provides no increase in reward from a 2. Yeah, the gear is a little higher item level, but it's still champion gear at the end, hero gear in the vault. Exactly the same 2 through 5. So if you're going to get the same thing, you might as well do it 2 because it's easier. So, just a side note, there have been 6, as of yesterday, 6 completed 17 keystones. 4 of them have been timed. So, hey, good on you guys for doing that. That's pretty cool. All right. So Mythic Plus, yeah, obviously we can calculate all these numbers out, but what can we use for other games or other versions of the game. Because for one thing, we have Keystones are the daily content, the things that people are going to want to do every day. You log on, you do your Keystones. Raid is once a week. You go and you do raid, and it's once a week, and it's whatever. But in Classic, see where I'm going here, the only way to determine what people are doing is by looking at raid numbers, because we don't have this sort of feature in Classic. There's no Mythic Plus. Yeah, we have the kind of Hero Plus or Heroic Plus, but it's not being tracked in the same way that Mythic Plus is. It's not. This isn't a. There's no rating associated with it. So, how can we calculate health of Classic compared to itself? We don't need to compare it to retail. Compared to itself. Now, I want to preface this by saying, I think that Classic is in a good place. However, I do feel like Blizzard has conspired against themselves here by creating 6 different versions of the game. You have Cataclysm Classic or Progression Classic. You have Classic Era. You have Classic Hardcore. You have Classic Season of Discovery. You have Classic Anniversary. And you have Classic Anniversary Hardcore. And yeah, you can roll the Hardcore into either Era or Anniversary. Yes, you can do that. So it's either 6 or 4 different versions of the game. But still, some people are only going to play the version of their game or the version of the game that they like. Some people are going to raid log for Cataclysm and play Season of Discovery, or they'll raid log for Anniversary and they'll play Cataclysm, whatever. That being said, the numbers are low across the board for Classic. They are low. And I think it tells a lot. Now, these numbers, basically what they are is Warcraft logs shows each character that has completed raid content, as long as that raid content was uploaded to Warcraft logs, right? Which most raids are. Not every raid, but most are. So this isn't the number of people playing, just like 4 million Keystones completed isn't 4 million people playing WoW, right? That's 4 million Keystones completed. That could be the same person running 60 Keystones in a week. So these numbers are not indicative of the overall health of the game, because not every person playing Classic is raiding. Some people are leveling. Some people don't like to raid. Some people are only doing dungeons. Some people are just farming. And some of these numbers, or some of the characters in here, are multiple characters for the same player. So maybe some guy has 5 alts, and each of those alts shows up in a Warcraft logs report. Either way, the idea here is that these numbers are low, and we want to try and interpret this in the best way possible. So, Cataclysm Classic. In the week of March 12th to March 18th, there were 57,442 Alliance players that completed a raid in Warcraft logs. 65,970 Horde players for a grand total of 123,412. So that's the total number of characters that were in a Warcraft logs update during the week of March 12th to 18th. Again, this could be a 10th of the number of people that are actually playing the game, or it could be half. We don't know. It could be exactly the number. There could be 123,412 players currently playing Classic. We don't know. This is the closest we have to an insight into the number of people that are actually playing Classic. To give you a comparison, at its highest peak, Wrath of the Lich King Classic was at 626,000. So we're at 123,000 now. Yes, that is quite a drop off, but so was Cataclysm. Cataclysm was a drop off. It was a drop off in retail, when it was live originally for the first time. We knew it was going to be a drop off again, especially Dragon Soul, because as much as people try to convince you that, oh no, Dragon Soul is actually a great raid, no, it's not. It's a terrible raid. It is a terrible raid. It is awful. It is so bad in so many ways. It is probably one of the worst raids that Blizzard has ever produced, and I will stand by that. I'm talking about real raids, not the 1 boss or 2 boss raids or whatever. I'm talking about a real raid. This is the raid tier. This is what we're doing. This is probably one of the worst ones ever. That being said, this is the highest population of any Classic game. And that, again, this is the number of people raiding, right? Not the number of people playing. This is the number of people leveling. This isn't the number of people doing PvP. This is the number of people raiding in Cataclysm Classic. For Classic Era, so this is just the vanilla original servers that launched in 2019. When they made the split to Burning Crusade, they kept a copy of the Era servers, and this is who's playing on it. So we have 82,000. I'm sorry. Wow. 82,000. Wouldn't that be great? 8,249 Alliance, 3,801 Horde, for a grand total of 12,050. So if you compare Cataclysm, which is the progression version of Classic, to the Era, which is the static, it's never going to go anywhere. Most people on here are raiding Nax. Some people do Molten Core Blackwing Lair. Occasionally get AQs, mostly just for people who are trying to complete their legendaries. 12,000. Season of Discovery during the same time period, March 12th to 18th. 44,000 Alliance, 31,000 Horde, 75,000 total. And then Anniversary, March 12th to 18th, same time period, 50,000 Alliance, 45,000 Horde, 95,000 total. To say that the numbers for Classic are low is an understatement for me. I love Classic World of Warcraft. I love playing Classic. I love thinking about what Blizzard is going to do with this original version of the game that so many people love. This hurts to look at. This does not feel good to me. I feel like so many people have checked out of Classic. They've checked out of Season of Discovery. Yeah, some people are playing Anniversary, but a lot of people have checked out of that too because they're like, I did that already in 2019. I don't need to do it again. I'm not sure where Classic is going at this point. Yeah, we're going to get a huge influx of people in Mists of Pandaria Classic, but how many of them are going to stay? How many people are going to be hanging around in a year when Mists of Pandaria is leaning into Siege of Orgrimmar and nobody wants to do that? How many people are going to be around? Are these numbers going to be lower? Are we going to be sub 100,000 total characters in raids? I don't know. It's possible. But when you take, like I said earlier, you take this data, this is the only data we have, right? You take this data and you go, does this mean that the game is unhealthy? I mean, it could. It could mean that Classic is in a bad state right now. It could be. So, one of the podcasts that I listened to many, many years ago, and I don't remember if I mentioned this on the show previously or not, but I'll mention it again if I have already, was Warcraft Reloaded. Blazing Bob was the host, along with his wife, Melorina, and they had a great show that was very entertaining. He's a very good technical host. He's got it dialed in. He stopped doing this podcast. He stopped playing Classic. He's doing a Kansas City Chiefs podcast now because he's just not playing WoW. And I looked at it and I said, well, okay, so we have Countdown to Classic, which is kind of like the starting zone of Classic, right? And we had Warcraft Reloaded. There's a couple of other YouTube channels. You've got like Willie and some streamers. Mostly people playing Classic that are doing any sort of online content are doing hardcore. And hardcore is really hard to raid in. And if you die in hardcore, you die. And I feel like hardcore has created a negative environment for Classic because so many people are focused on hardcore right now that you're not getting a really large player base. People go in there, they play one time, they die at level 17, and they're like, well, that's it, I'm done with this because I don't want to run again. I don't want to go again. That's a mentality that a lot of people just cannot get behind. I had a hard time with it, and I was like, no, that's it, I'm done. So yeah, these numbers are low. It doesn't really give us any insight into hardcore, and it's really not showing us how many people are actually playing the game and leveling. I'll tell you right now, when I log into Anniversary or if I log into Season of Discovery, there are people running around everywhere leveling up. So the games are healthy to an extent. But I think that evidence, if you look at the evidence, Blizzard announced the Anniversary servers and they released one server per game type. And they said it was because they can handle a higher load. And that very well may be the case. But I also think that they didn't want to have 10 servers where all of them are low pop because people aren't playing the game. So, the War Within is really kicking and Classic is kind of kicking the bucket. And it's sad because I love Classic WoW. I really do. And I don't want to see it go away. I at least want to see it get to Legion. Come on. I don't see how these numbers are going to survive Warlords of Draenor. I just really don't. Nobody's going to want to play. Everybody's going to be sitting in their garrison. Oh, it's going to be awful. I don't know. And again, I'm just looking at data. I can't really draw too many conclusions because this is what we're looking at. But if you are enjoying Classic, if you're playing Classic, talk about it. Get out there. There's literally one podcast right now that focuses on Classic. I talk about Classic on this show, but it's not my focus because I'm not playing it on a regular basis. And I have stated before, I feel it's disingenuous of me to try and cover a game that I'm not actually playing. I don't want to turn into John Jagger. So if you're enjoying Classic, talk to me. Let me know. And, let's make sure that Classic doesn't die. Because honestly, at this point, I'm concerned about the future of Classic. I want to talk about Classic Plus as this is going to be cool, not, oh, I sure hope this saves Classic. Because at this point, that's what we're looking at. Man, I sure hope that Classic Plus comes along and saves Classic, because at this point, it's going to die in 6 months. So, anyway. All right, that was too depressing. There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about as far as numbers go, and this one was kind of interesting. So, we had the Race to World First. That was very exciting, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a lot of complaining, because just call it what it is, by people about the race and about how easy the last boss was, and this was a bummer of a race. And I get it. You want that last boss to be exciting, cinematic, like I said last week. You want it to be a cinematic conclusion. Not, oh yeah, it's dead. We had 2 people dead for like the last 20%, whatever, or 30%, whatever it was. Yeah, that's fine. You want something more than that. So there was a post made on Reddit by u/Grandforce, and I'll put the link to his spreadsheet in the show notes, his original Google Docs. But he's gone through and he's calculated the number of pulls for every world first boss since Warlords of Draenor. Now, again, this is data, and so we can look at it, but we have to understand the source here. He's actually calculated this himself. And what he did was he compared, he picked and chose which data he was going to include. Like, for example, he included the Vexi and the Gear Grinders pull of liquid rather than the Vexi and the Gear Grinders pull of machine mechanics, or whatever the first guild was that did it. And I think they only did 2 pulls. But the point is, he's only including the Race to World First guild. So the liquids, the echoes, the methods, whatever. So it gives us an idea. It's not hard data. But what this does is it gives us an idea of how good the Race to World First was compared to every other Race to World First. The total number of pulls for the race, the total number of pulls for the last boss, and the average number of pulls per boss. And you can see very clearly on this data where those choke points are in raids. I don't even have to tell you, by looking at this data, you'll know right away where Anduin and Halandras are in Sepulchre of the first ones. It's really clear. You can see which raids were absurdly hard, like Crucible of Storms or Tomb of Sargeras. That was out of control difficulty. 655 pulls for Kill Jaden and 1,200 pulls total for the raid is ridiculous. That is way too many pulls. No guild should have to go through that. If you look at the data, Nerebar Palace was over 1,000 pulls. We hadn't had a 1,000 pull raid since Sepulchre of the First Ones. So, all of Dragonflight, the hardest raid was Amir Drasil. Aberrus was only 276 total pulls. Vault of the Incarnates was 464. See where I'm coming from here. While, yes, it was frustrating that Gallywix died after 100 pulls, 542 pulls is nothing to sneeze at. That's middle of the pack in terms of the overall pull count. And 67 average pulls, again, middle of the pack. This is an 8 boss raid. This isn't like a 2 boss raid or something, or a 10 boss raid. This is a 8 boss raid. This is a good number of pulls. That being said, if you look at the data and you say, has the race for World First been getting harder? And there have been some hard raids. But I don't think it's absurd to look at, for example, we look at Jailer, 277 pulls, which is a lot, but not as high as Halandras, which was 358. Jailer wasn't even the hardest boss in his own raid, just like Gallywix wasn't the hardest boss in his raid. Muggsy, Styx Monkjunker, and Sprakamonger Lockenstock are all harder than Gallywix, objectively. So, same thing with Jailer. Same thing with Xavius in the Emerald Nightmare. These bosses, these final bosses, kind of ended up being duds. And I'm not saying the Jailer was a dud. That was a very difficult boss. It was a very difficult fight. But let's be clear here. We're not saying that every Race to World First has to follow a formula where the bosses are ramp in difficulty as you go and they get harder. When you get to the last boss, it's the highest pull. No, we don't know. Even Farak had fewer pulls than Tindril Flame Swift, or what T Swift, whatever his name was. The Race to World First is a inaccurate thing. Blizzard puts the bosses out there and they don't touch them unless they have to. If they look at their numbers on the back end, which we can't see, and they say, oh, look, this boss is going to be unkillable by the guilds because we're looking at this and we're doing math and we're going, oh my gosh, this is unkillable, then they nerf it. If it's not, generally speaking, they don't nerf those bosses. They just say, well, figure it out. Look at Crucible of Storm, 731 pulls for Unet. It's nuts. And then if you want to compare Gallywix to other first bosses, or I'm sorry, other final bosses, Gallywix was 100 pulls. Sarkareth was 114 pulls. Sired and Athreus was 143 pulls. And then I can't even remember the final boss of Hymal, which was 123. And then, of course, you have Xavius at 20, but that's an anomaly. Blizzard completely screwed that one up. I don't think that 100 pulls is shameful. I think it's low. It's definitely low for a final boss. But like I said last week, it makes sense within the context of the lore and the story that Gallywix is easier than his lieutenants. Absolutely makes sense. It's not exciting for the Race to World First. It's just not. And there's nothing that you can do that's going to make that exciting for people who were disappointed that Liquid killed it at 12 midnight Eastern time while other guilds were in bed. That was not exciting. But this isn't a race about how exciting it is. If Blizzard wants to have the race be structured, then they can structure it. But this is unstructured. This is everybody just doing their own thing. Liquid killed it when they could. And Blizzard didn't know how hard it was going to be based on what Liquid was doing. They can't make changes based on classes or based on gear. You have to just go with it. All you can do is change mechanics that are going to be impossible to clear. And that's it. So, was the Race to World First a disappointment? Yeah, maybe. I don't think it was bad for the game. I think WoW is still in a really healthy state regardless. But yeah, that narrative, it definitely is out there. And a lot of people are talking about it. I don't think that means that the game is bad. I don't think that means that Blizzard screwed up. I think an easier race to world first is always a good thing, especially coming off the tails of not just one, but two really hard bosses in Nerebar Palace. Because you had Queen Ansarek and Nexus Princess. Those were both really tough bosses. So, again, this data provides us with an insight into the game, and it gives us some things to talk about. We can look at data and we can go, oh, look at this. This is very interesting because the highest, let's get rid of Crucible of Storms because that's an absurd anomaly with with 466 average pull count between the two bosses. Let's get rid of that. But if you look at the raids that have an average pull count of over 100, Nerebar Palace, Sepulchre of the First Ones, Tomb of Sargeras. That's it. That's what you got. Everything else is sub 100. So do we need a 8 boss raid to have an 800 total pull count? I don't think so. Would 642 have been better than 542? Maybe. I don't know. I think people just looked at the numbers and it was more of a feeling for Galliwix. It just felt off. Like it felt too easy. Yeah, the fight's hard, but I think people wanted a secret mythic phase. I think honestly that's the truth. I think people wanted a secret mythic phase and they didn't get one and they were mad and so they pouted. So I don't know. Like I said, data can tell us a lot, but there's some things that it just really can't tell us. And so you can't tell motivation behind data. You can't. You can guess some motivation based on what data you have available. But in this case, no, we can't really tell what people are thinking. All we can do is look at this and go, well, this is what it looks like. And that's that. So is the question that I'm asking and the question that I'm going to be going over, and this in the future, this segment's going to be a lot shorter because we're just going to go over the numbers and we're going to kind of talk about where things are. Is WoW in a healthy state? I think overall WoW's in a healthy state. I think Classic is kind of struggling right now. And I think Blizzard is really not sure what to do. I sure hope we get an alpha for Mists of Pandaria here real soon, or a beta, so that'll drum up some excitement. I think a lot more people will get into Cataclysm if they know that Mists of Pandaria is right around the corner. But yeah, that's where we are. So that's like I said, this will be a new segment that we're going to talk about, but it will be much shorter than this. So don't worry, I'm not going to drone on and on about numbers every episode. This will be maybe once a month, and we will talk about the numbers, and it'll be a quick 5-10 minute discussion, and that'll be that. So that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege for me to get on this microphone and speak to you. If you are enjoying the show, I really do appreciate your listenership. If you'd like to help us out with that, you can go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever your favorite podcast platform is. If they have a rating or review system in there, you can give us a 5-star rating and a review. That would really help out the distribution. If you are watching us on YouTube, you could help us out by giving us a like and a subscribe. Those will all be very, very helpful. I would really appreciate it. You don't have to do any of that, of course, if you're just not the type of person that wants to help out, or if you're just like, I don't really care, it wasn't that good. That's fine. I get it. It's all good. But if you do want to help, that's a very easy way that you can engage. You can put a comment on the YouTube video. That would also help, even if just creating engagement. So I do want to take a moment here to thank our Patreon members. They give their IRL money to help out the show, and we really appreciate that here on Azeroth United. So our friend of the show patrons that we're going to call out today are Judge Omni, Stug Life, and Thelial. I really appreciate your support. You definitely help make Azeroth United possible. We have 3 tiers for our Patreon. We have our friend of the show patrons, we have our standard patrons, and then we have our free patrons. So if you want to join Patreon, but you can't afford to, or you're not interested in paying any money, that's fine. You can join as a free member. But if you do want to toss a couple bucks my way, I would really appreciate it. It definitely helps out. Azeroth United will always be free. I'm not going to charge for the show. I don't have any intention on putting advertising on the show. So anything that you could do to help out, I would really appreciate it. And if you don't want to, that's fine. You don't need to. It's fine. Yeah. And If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me. I am on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm getting the hang of all this. I'm moving everything around, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to how everything works now with all of this stuff crammed into the end. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter or Blue Sky. I'm at Denethar on both of those platforms. If you want to occasionally catch me streaming, I will be streaming on Twitch or YouTube at Denethar01. You can also get the link tree for Azeroth United. We'll have all the podcast links, our Discord server, our Patreon, the Spotify link, the YouTube channel, all of that stuff. It will be on Linktree, linktr.ee/Azeroth United. The Patreon is patreon.com/Azeroth United if you want to just go there directly. All of those things you can check out. Jump on over to the Discord server. I've recently made a switch to turn the Discord server into a community server so that we can set up like a podcast town hall and things like that. Is a couple of things that I want to try and do with the Discord server here in the next couple of months going into spring. But yeah, go ahead and jump on in. We've got some conversations going on, not a ton, but there's definitely some conversation going on and people talking about WoW and just IRL stuff. And it's kind of a chill place to come hang out. So if you want to come hang out with us, that's great. We are going to be doing some town halls. So definitely if you want to participate in that, you can jump on in and we'll get you set up for that when the time is right for the town hall. So, all right. And I think that's it. So remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real person on the other side of that keyboard. And just because they don't want to pay any attention to data and they have no interest in numbers, that's okay. You can still be their friend, and just remember to be polite and smile and just nod and say that's okay. You don't need to be as informed as I am because I'm super informed, guys. Anyway, just be good to each other out there. It's a rough world and we're playing a video game, so let's try and be nice. All right, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.